Testing 1, 2 with audio. Testing 1, 2 with audio. It's pretty bad. The mic's way over there.
Are you going to follow YouTube for constant questions or Facebook?
I'll follow YouTube.
Then I'm going to get out of YouTube and get into
Hello, JL. Hello, Taylor.
We've got one person more than me. Unfortunately, I don't get names of who it is.
Welcome on, everybody. We are going to be starting here very shortly. We're just waiting for some people to join in. I can't listen to myself.
Since we've got that few second delay, it would be a rather awkward kind of constant feedback if we did. It's like,
Yeah.
we do love sometimes as actors and as professionals to hear the sound of our voice running on, but it's awkward. Everybody else can hear it too.
Yeah. Three people now.
Same for the Facebook Live. Yeah.
Right. So there's 3 people. 2 now.
We had 4, it's dropped down to 2, one of which is me, so maybe they're switching over to YouTube. Maybe they're...
Invite your friends and family, everybody. You need to hear this conversation.
This is going to be completely rocking. Possibly as much giggling as when Baden was on, no guarantees.
In the future, I might decide to just record the podcasts and then post them later. It's cool to have like the feedback of the audience right there and then, but I feel like as production quality goes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you run out of things to talk about, having the questions coming in is cool, but other times, it feels more like we're just begging for attention when we get to say what we have to say.
Right.
Get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, we could do both, stream, but then like also record and then put together the more compressed version. afterward.
We have to go back and edit it and highlight it down from an hour and a half down to 45 minutes or something.
Yeah.
It's experience good on transcribing the subtitles. We're enunciating clearly enough that it's getting our closed captioning right. No, mostly.
Every once in a while there's that one word. Okay. All right. Well, we can get started. And for those who want to join in later, they can backtrack and see what we talked about once this gets uploaded and everything like that. So for everyone who is tuning in, welcome back to Tune In Tuesdays. This is a weekly podcast from Spiraking Studios where we basically bring on guests of any variety and just talk about whatever we want to talk about. There's no limitations on this one. So I have an awesome person with me today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Renee Dick. I am a staff writer for Spiraking Studios. I also do act. We just haven't managed to get me into any of our major projects yet. But I'm looking forward to everything we've got coming down the pipeline. It's going to be an awesome next couple of years as we manage to film our dream story.
So how long have you been involved with us? It's been quite a while, right? Like a couple of years?
Technically before we were officially us, I auditioned for Westwood and got a minor role, and despite that not coming together quite as we hoped, I stayed in touch with you, and as other projects came up, you saw hopefully the passion I have for what we're doing, and I've just kind of wormed my way, and it feels like it's like, hey, keep me around.
So yeah, no, I definitely did notice the passion that you had, and it's very easy to keep passionate people around, that's for sure. And just about one question I was wondering, what was the appeal to Spiraking Studios? Like, your first project didn't really go through, so what made you think that we still had potential to grow as a company?
Because even working with you for that short time, I saw the same passion in you. This wasn't just, oh, well, we tried and we failed and we're going to let it go. That was still in the maybe yes, maybe no, you're still doing short films. I haven't yet personally watched all of our back library, but the first short that you debuted after I kind of joined the crew, as it were, was the short film Alone. And I was very impressed. You know, it was for something being produced locally, relatively micro budget. It was a very engaging psychological thriller, and it just said, okay, no, this is not something where this group of people is letting failures stop them. They're treating failures as they should be, as learning experiences, and moving on to the next project and doing it amazingly well. And I've got background in stage acting, public speaking, many things that led me to be kind of part of the greater production thing, but never in film. And I just saw this as an opportunity to be a part of something bigger and a field that I wanted to explore, and thankfully you gave me that opportunity.
And of course, we're going to be expanding the horizons, hopefully sooner than later. We've been doing pretty well, I'd say. We went from pretty much working on our first feature film to completing our second, getting it into theaters, and having a studio within a year. And I think that's more than a lot of what beginner studios could say. So I feel like as far as limits go, we are limitless. And I'm excited to be able to bring opportunities, especially to a on a local level like we are. But what was it that got you involved in performing arts, or more specifically film?
Performing arts in general was just the opportunity to kind of break out of a personal shell. As a transgender woman, I was in the closet for a long, long time. But the skills that I learned back in high school drama, where I started, let me express myself in ways that were acceptable even without coming out yet at that point. And so it just became part of who I could be, to be able to put myself forward even before I was ready to be out. And then film honestly wasn't on my horizon until I met you. It was something where unless you generally are in a big film producing area, you don't even think about it. It's, you aren't going, hey, I'm going to go for an extras casting call if you're in Roseburg,
right?
And the biggest production is in LA, unless you happen to find that they're doing on location filming, you get that chance to get in. And although I was kind of on the lookout for stuff like that, honestly, Westwood was the first one that I saw that's like, hey, no, this is a time and place that I can do this. And so you are entirely responsible for my seeing the opportunity to enter the world of film.
Well, that's cool. And also, for those of you who don't know, Westwood was our very first feature film that we attempted. Some things got shaky because of COVID coming through, but I actually just came across all the footage from Westwood. I could have sworn that footage got erased, not purposefully, but with drive switching around. But I found it, and I actually, just looking at the footage and stuff, I remember thinking, nah, I'm not going to put that together, it just hurts too much. But looking at the footage, I'm like, you know what, the people who worked on it should at least deserve to see what was, in a short film. Even though we plan on revisiting the idea of the film, it still wouldn't hurt to have the short film out there. And there's other projects that I had worked on years ago that I found, and it's just crazy. So I guess speaking of projects, you've done some projects with us, and you've written some too. So what are some projects that some of our audience may have seen that you've written?
I actually, without tooting my own horn too much, have been responsible for the majority of the short films we've done in the last year. So far, that's technically 2 that have actually made a production. Those were short films called Rolls and Staked Out, both just comedy, slice of life roles. Currently, other projects in the pipeline are several more short films, all of which I'm writing, some of which I'm directing or collaborating with other directors in the company. And although we don't have it directly on the production schedule yet, I do have one of our upcoming feature films under my thumb. So that one will be tentatively titled Kid Detective, and hopefully we'll be able to see it sometime within, I'd say, the next couple of years. So I think our 2022 production schedule is pretty full, but that could very well be on the 23 production schedule.
Yeah. Or even maybe toward the end of 2022, we could, if we're feeling ambitious enough. But yeah, we've definitely got our ideas on board, and I think something I'm really happy about is that we've kind of found a flow, even if it's kind of like a slinky kind of flow, it's still a flow, and we'll get better at it, I think, but still just, we made a film, all right, on to the next one. Even though we don't start right away, it's still a process, and it's pretty exciting to see that we're actually going forward with this stuff. So you not only do some writing with us, but you're also in the board of directors, right?
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that? Where's your position?
My position is what's called the parliamentarian. For those not familiar, that's basically the person who keeps track of the rules and shouts things like "you're out of order," even not quite courtroom style, but just keeping people on topic and on track so we can treat it as an actual business meeting rather than just a gab session. So.
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes behind the scenes with Spider King Studios, and a lot of that involves business-related things. And being the business owner, I need to know all those things, but it's also good to have somebody on the team that kind of knows their crap and can be like, "No, Jake, that's kind of illegal."
We hold on that idea for just a moment till we talk. Yeah.
I'm just like, "What do you mean stunt work without liability insurance?" I'm just kidding. Okay. So you touched down a little bit on it with Kid Detective. Do you want to expand on your future projects? Do you have anything in the works?
We do. Right now, those who have seen our work are pretty much only seeing us as a film studio in the theatrical film or short film sense. But that is not the limit of our ambitions. We've done commercial work, of course, but also on the horizon as a film studio is possibly doing some television production. And we have a concept for a restaurant review show that will take us around the state, hopefully in the future around the country or even around the world, that we hope we have a hook that will draw you in, not make you go, I've already seen that on Food Network. So I don't want to throw out too many details because we want to keep you kind of interested in it. But part of it will be that we're going to not just focus on the food we want, we're going to focus on the food that you want to know about. So when you've watched a show on the Travel Channel Food Network and go, yeah, that sounds great, but there's no way I'm ever going to visit there. It's not the type of place I'd eat at. It's like, no, we want to know, as we move forward with this, what are your favorite restaurants? What food do you want reviewed? And that's going to be the guiding force in developing that particular project.
And I think the idea is pretty genius, because not only does it involve the audience, but kind of like without giving too much away, like we've talked about, it gives people their 15 minutes of fame, and so they get to show off their town in a way, like where do they eat, I think it's a really cool idea, and I'm personally super excited to get started on it. I think it would be a really good consistent sort of form of content that would really push us forward.
And that's actually something that, as we tighten down nuts and bolts, we're hoping to start probably second quarter this year, if we can move forward fast enough, and if our features don't occupy a little bit too much of our time. And see, we are still small. We've got a very dedicated staff, but that means we can't unfortunately have too many projects running at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, when everybody's working on one film and all of that production team has pretty much all their focus on that, it's hard to pull them away and say, hey, work on these at the same time. And we're not Warner Brothers, so, hopefully we will get there one day. Okay. So, where do you see yourself in the future, Spider King Studios?
Honestly, all over the place, but in a good way. It's when you recruited me, it was basically first as a bid actor and then as a staff writer. But very quickly, just in the short films alone, we jumped into getting me actually directing, and I've found that a very rewarding experience. I would like to be able to grow with the company and learn more about the actual camera work, a lot more of the behind the scenes stuff, and have my experience in stage acting and behind the scenes work there can translate to our work in film. There's no particular point that I want to say where I want to fill a position like head writer or assistant director. It's like I want to immerse in this business. It's something I'm really honestly excited about, and there is no part of it that I'm not willing to dive into and learn if it helps us achieve our goals of becoming hopefully the preeminent film studio for the Pacific Northwest. So
yeah. And is there anywhere specific that you would like to see Spider King Studios go? Is there any specific path, like in the future Spider King Studios should do this kind of project, or kind of have this kind of I guess vibe, or something like that? I can't find the words. Hopefully you get it.
I think I get what you're saying. That's a hard call to make, because the stuff I like to watch is very different from the stuff that I've got good experience and comfortable writing. I'm a huge sci-fi, fantasy, genre action fan, so I could sit here and fangirl all over MCU movies and everything, just like many of us can. And that's the stuff that, if I'm giving my money to the film industry, that I go to see. But as far as what I write, what I'm comfortable directing, at this point in my life, slice of life, comedy, just slice of life, not so much drama, but character exploration is where my talents are going right now. Again, though, I would like to grow with it. So someday, who knows, maybe I will be directing, or at least be part of the directing team for a big budget action thriller, and that would be amazing. But right now I want to refine my talent in telling people stories as opposed to telling a myth story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have one more question on the studio topics, and then I kind of have some ideas on where we can move on.
Absolutely.
Where do you see, maybe not yourself specifically, but maybe the studio as a whole, say in 10 years? Where do you think the progression we are now is leading to in 10 years' time?
Well, that goes back to touching on the what I'd like to do versus what I'm comfortable doing. Right now, we have, with our most recent release, Death with Dignity, kind of established ourselves, I think, very firmly in the ability to show a good action film. And a lot of the projects we have on tap seem to be growing us in that direction. And I think that in 10 years, with our growing skills, hopefully our growing budgets, everything else, that we could churn out. And I don't mean churn in the bad mass production sense, just in the getting it done. A real, true Hollywood-worthy summer blockbuster. I don't want us to limit ourselves to that, though. There's too many film companies, past and present, that have, I think, focused too narrowly on a slice. One of those was really big back in the 80s was Orion Pictures. They produced a number of very memorable films, but they kind of focused on a medium budget action genre stuff. They gave us many stars like Van Damme and a few others got their start in Orion Pictures, but they're gone now because they never expanded beyond that. They didn't become a Warner Brothers or a Universal that could literally encompass any genre, any film under an umbrella. And so though I think as we are a startup, it's a good point to finish. In 10 years, in 20 years, I would like to see us able to take on any project, and I think we will. We are already showing, if not yet in our features, in our short films, that we've done thriller, we've done horror, we've done comedy. We've done action. We still have to get to romance, historical, and mystery, I guess. But hey, if there's a checklist, we're already 2/3 of the way there.
Right. And we're going to be doing a slasher here pretty soon.
Oh yes, so looking forward to that.
It's going to be fun.
Brainstorming that was probably the best part of the last couple months in terms of going, ooh, how nasty can we make this? How gory can we get it?
And for all of those who have been kind of keeping up on Juvenile, which is our next film, the script is done and we are going into pre-production now. So that means we're going to be starting production here pretty soon, and I think that's super exciting. So we're almost early in the process. I think just getting the auditions, budget is a big thing. I think we need to work more on that. But where do you see yourself working on that project? Would you like to act this time, or are you more behind the scenes?
Both. As I'm very comfortable behind the scenes, but I am much more comfortable than I was in my youth out in front of the people on the camera as well. If there is a part for me in this, I would love to have, like, say, a messy death on the screen. It's like, oh man, it would just be wonderful. But I'm just happy to be involved with the project, whether it's in front, behind the camera, or both. It's important that we put out the best product we can, and there's absolutely zero ego involved in that for me. So I want to be where we make the best film we can, wherever that puts me.
Oh, cool.
So,
and super excited about it, Juvenile.
heck yes.
It's going to be awesome. Like horror and slasher are very different, and it'll be fun to just make a fun killer movie.
And it looks like we already have a link to our GoFundMe for that in the comments, so please, if you're as excited about that as we are, follow the link, give us a hand, help us make the movie we want to make that hopefully you're excited for.
Heck yeah. So, I would like to sort of shift the conversation now. Do we have any questions going on in there?
Nope, just some positive comments, people that would love to act or get involved, but no questions yet on Facebook. We are broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube and Facebook, so if you do have questions for us, whichever platform you're on, please put them in the comments. We are watching and ready to answer.
Yeah. So, are you okay going into more personal conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And my life is an open book. You just have a lot of kind of gibberish on the pages as we go through. So,
okay. So, what are some of your other passions? There's film and performing arts, but what else is a passion for you?
Professionally, I'm a cook, and I am a cook because I am also passionate outside my profession, and I've been experimenting with stuff in the stove and the oven since I was, however high a good small kid height is here these days. And that actually led to what was effectively my first career. I was a cook for the United States Army back in the days of my youth. And I've had now a chance to be a professional cook locally for the last 7 years. I like to tell people that I am a cook. I'm not a chef. I'm not knocking on chefs, but when I am cooking for people's comfort, for their taste refill, not to put art on a plate. And I think there's room for both of those. Chefs give us ideas, drive us forward, but cooks are the one who send you home not hungry at the end of the night. So I am proud to be a cook. Other than that, the majority of my passions lie in the same things that lead me into the film and the genre films we were doing. I had some sci-fi, gamer, fantasy, geek, just all the traditional nerd hobbies. My dice collection weighs more than my sock collection. The usual stuff.
So it's probably a given, but the fact that you're a cook probably has influenced the show ideas that you've had with going around and experiencing different places of food?
Absolutely. Our project there, looking at spelling, I love food. Even without being a cook, I would have had the interest, but it would have been the same as anybody else watching the Cooking Channel or Food Network going, this seems awesome. But having the professional experience in it is what makes me confident that I can go in and visit a restaurant on a professional level, understand what they're doing in the kitchen, understand what they're doing in front of the house, and be able to bring that to you in a way that makes you go, yes, I want to eat there, that's awesome. And being a cook professionally, I don't think I would be quite as confident in the ability to move forward with that without that. So it has definitely influenced some of the ideas and passions that I'm bringing to Spider King.
Yeah, and I think not only that, but some practicality within the acting realm of things too. I mean, you've mentioned it before, knowing the skills within a job can actually help you within acting the part of a certain job too, right?
Absolutely. We've talked about this in some of the workshops that when you're watching a film, there's what's called the suspension of disbelief. It's like if you believe what is happening on screen is possible, you stay immersed in the film and enjoy it. But if something leaps out at you, goes, come on, I do that in real life, that can't happen that way, it can break you out of that enjoyment. It may not mean you hate the film, but it distracts from what we as filmmakers are trying to achieve of immersing you in the world of the film for that hour or 2 hours or however long we have your attention. And soldiers, policemen, firefighters, we see so many of these things involved, to any, emergency, and a lot of them have that. It's like, man, you don't fire a gun that way. If you fire a gun that way, you're going to end up with brass flying in your face or whatever, and that can break that for people. But I pointed out in our workshops that even just watching somebody cooking, there are things that I do as a cook, knowing how to properly use a knife to like chop vegetables or meat. It's not just whacking away with a butcher's cleaver. There are techniques we use in the kitchen for both safety and for efficiency that make a difference. And so when I watch a movie with somebody pretending to be a cook and I'm going, man, if I did that, I'd have lost 3 fingers already being well on my way to a thumb. That's the type of thing that can break me out of that suspension of disbelief. So yeah, bringing those talents to film and anybody bringing their professional experience, that's part of what we want to do. Is that there's no invaluable information in film. When you're making films about real people, real situations, no matter how far out the overall idea may be, you still have that ability to inject just enough reality to make the film real for the viewers. And so the more we can bring to the table that way, the more we can successfully immerse people in our films and make sure that they're enjoying it as much as we enjoy the process of making it.
Yeah. And, I mean, with when you believe what you're watching as an audience member, it can definitely make a huge difference. I mean, like you said, which actually kind of reminds me of something else. Going into the who characters are and more specifically like races, ethnicities, sexualities,
gender identities.
Exactly. How important do you think it is for proper representation on film? Could somebody who is, for example, not transgender play a transgender person? Do you think that's okay?
That is a very tough and sensitive question. I think it's really contextual. Yes, a good actor or actress can play any role if they're given the right direction, but they can't do that in a vacuum. So if for some reason, we'll use transgender since it's near and dear to my heart, if you could not cast an actual transgender actor or actress for a role because just none auditioned for it or whatever the case might be, I don't think that you are erasing transgender people by casting a non-trans actor in the role. But on the other hand, we all bring our own experiences to the roles. And if you haven't lived a role, you at least have to have information from someone who has to be able to act it. So if you cast a non-trans person in a trans role, you at least need to have somebody trans on staff as an information source to be able to go, wait, no. Trust me, that's not the way it works. So overall, I think it's important to cast people in roles that fit so that we are enabling everybody to participate in the process. But I also don't think that diversity should become mandatory or tokenizing, where it's like we hired a trans person, a person of color, whatever, just because we had to have one. It's like cast the right person for that role. And if the right person is the person who does bring the personal experience to the role, please, yes, do so. But limiting yourselves to that sometimes keeps the project from being made, because if you're going, well, this calls for whatever, and we just literally can't find a person to cast, there's no easy answers to that. It's balancing, and I'd say the one thing you can count on is no matter how you approach it, you're going to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And all we can do is make the best films we can with the best people we can, and acknowledge that sometimes we're going to make mistakes, and hopefully just do better the next time.
Yeah. Now, do you think that there is a difference within something else, like somebody who is not of a character's race to play that character? Do you think it is different than what we just talked about, or do the points kind of line up?
Wow, you're asking the tough ones. Race and ethnicity, because for the most part they are visible to us, well, they shouldn't be different. Nothing that makes each of us unique should be any more or less important than any other. I think is more important to cast simply because it is visible, and just the anger, the outcry that can drive that can just tank things. And it's an experience that is not only lived every day for people who are living it, but that it's easy to see that people are living it. Unfortunately, some of the differences we're talking about are more generally invisible and thus easier to gloss over. And it doesn't mean that we should, but it means that we can, whereas race and ethnicity are just not something that we can do. Ability differences are also things. It's like, when you are, I loved what Marvel Studios has done with Hawkeye, making sure that they did acknowledge the representing deaf actors and actresses in appropriately casting there. And I think that we can bring more of that to the table in ensuring that we appropriately represent. But again, there's so much context to it. There's no hard and fast line where we can say, this you cannot do, this you must do, when sometimes it's a matter of just what resources we have to work with. And that doesn't mean that it's ever okay to, put somebody in blackface. It's just like,
right.
We know, no, this is bad. Please never do this. We will burn you at the stake. But it does mean that we as writers and directors and producers have a responsibility to look at our scripts at the very beginning and go, if I have reach a point where I cannot properly cast this, is that an integral part of the script? Is this something where we cannot necessarily miscast it, but redo the script so that both the casting and the character are appropriate? And sometimes you can't. Sometimes, you're not going to write a script about, inner city struggles without recognizing racial and ethnic diversity. On the other hand, if you're making a superhero movie, there's no particular reason that any particular hero has to be any particular race, gender, anything else. We've got more flexibility depending on the type of project that we're doing.
Right. Unless there were like comics or something where that already established character was a certain way.
Well, and even then, comics retcon themselves so often. Why can't we?
Right. Yeah.
We do have a question from Joshua asking us, what drives us filmmaking wise?
I guess that's a me question.
It's very much you. It kind of might be, but let's start off with you.
What drives us filmmaking wise? Huh. Well, I mean, for me, it's personally just a passion of mine. I don't know if the deep psychological ness of the is what you're going with your question, but everybody has that thing that helps them with what they're going on in their life, and that's what film is for me. Whether I'm behind the camera or acting in front of it, I found more so as a director, being able to craft a vision of my own. It's just a passion of mine, and I find it. I found that it's the way I want to go. Yeah, and but I'd say what drives filmmaking for Spider King Studios as a whole, I would say to build a community. That's the biggest thing for me. Being here in Douglas County, again, I'm a preacher when it comes to this, just creating opportunities, because there's a lot of talent here, and there's a lot of filmmakers just like you, Josh. And I feel like that talent could be put to really good use. And so whether it be on an educational basis or on a professional level, I think that there is something to be said about there just being simply more opportunities for that sort of thing around here and not having to go to LA or somewhere else. So,
what drives me personally is honestly the storytelling aspect of it. It's my dreams as a young girl were to be a professional writer, which, hey, now I kind of am. Not in the novel sense that I was thinking, but I am. And then later, as I encountered stage acting and then film, as well as like role-playing games, all of those, at their most basic, are about storytelling. Something that has been ingrained in us since we were still back in the caves. It's our most basic form of entertainment is to come up with these fantastical worlds that start all inside our head and find a way to relate them to another person. And I think film is one of the truest ways to explore that. The written word is great and allows people with a similar level of vivid imagination to create their own worlds, but not everybody has that type of creativity. Everybody has their own innate art and sense. And so for some people, the visual medium is the best way to be able to share these wonderful stories. And I think that is what film in its essence is for me, is to be able to go, hey, I've got this really cool story I want to share with you. Sit down a while.
Yeah. And there's just something about seeing your script, just like kind of this I don't want to get weird, but a fetus, right? And it grow into being seen on the screen, the final product. You now have a baby, and I think it's addicting.
Well, and anybody who's been in the industry, even just at this local level, I guess, can tell you the final product, the final cut is never going to be what you had in that initial script. I mean, I can imagine a completely anal retentive director who's going, no, there will be no deviations from my script. And even then, the realities of filming cutting go, oh my God, no, that sounded really good on paper. I just literally cannot film this scene the way I wrote it.
Yeah.
It is going to cause changes. But I think it's the living art of creating the film that creates some of the best moments. And I've seen this in behind the scenes directors and actor commentary on other films, certainly as well. But in our most recent short, the Staked Out, our wonderful cast there brought elements to that film that I, as the writer and director, hadn't even begun to contemplate. And without that on the spot improvisation and reality of the actors bringing their roles to life, it wouldn't have been nearly what it could have been just on the vision of my writing. They added so much to it. And that's why any project of this nature, especially in film, is a true collaboration, because I may be the writer, you may be the director, but with just the two of us, there's no film. We need the rest, we need the cast, we need the crew. They bring our story to life. And the elements of themselves that they put in that are what truly makes the movies magic.
Yeah. Was that another question that popped in?
That's a darn good. Oh, no, come on, back to live chat. From Joshua again, thanks for the answers. I really dug Death with Dignity. With it being released now, what is your barometer for success when releasing a film? Well, I'd say the barometer of 3 completely sold out shows is a pretty darn good barometer for success.
Yeah. And planning on doing more. I would say, for me, just having people come see it is a success for me. You know, like, the money is important, obviously. I think as far as success from a profit perspective, having your budget met or exceeded in the box office or sales of the film, that would be a success. But just in my eyes, just having all the people come out, laugh when they're supposed to laugh in the film, that when you wrote it, you intended people to laugh in that moment, and then hearing them laugh, it fills you, you know, it makes you happy. And so having people say, I loved the film, even people saying that they hated it, or people hating you on YouTube for some reason with your trailers, you know, I think it means that you're making it. So
in the old, you know, I'm forgetting the word I'm looking for. There is no such thing as bad publicity. That's the phrase I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Love it or hate it, if people are paying attention to your film, that means at least they're aware of it, they're aware of you as a writer, as a director, as a film studio. The worst anti-success we could have would be to be completely ignored. And so I think that we have obviously succeeded in not being ignored. We are making a difference. We have people interested in our film, positive or negative. We are getting local press. We are achieving our goals in that sense, in that we are not invisible. We are standing out. We are getting noticed. We are making a difference. And that obviously, in terms of not just individual project success, but towards our growth, is our true barometer. It's like, you know, have people forgotten about us? Are they excited to see the next thing we're doing? Whether it's because they want to succeed or fail, doesn't matter. They still know that we're here and know what we're doing. And I think that's a great bar to have cleared with,
yeah,
no trouble whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, we've made pages, the front page on the newspaper and things like that, and that sort of stuff is cool.
From Joy Atkins, we have, will Spider King Studios be releasing film on streaming apps like Apple iTunes?
That is definitely, that would definitely be something that would be cool. I don't think we're there yet. I would have to do more research on the how-tos of all of that. We have tried with Amazon Prime. We have submitted a film, and for whatever reason they just haven't gone back. Maybe we could try again with Death with Dignity. Right now, our biggest, I guess, a business plan when it comes to films is obviously finishing the film, having the premieres, and then releasing it for a digital buy on our website. And then after that point, we would maybe offer DVD purchases. And once it's sort of phased out, we were even thinking about putting it on YouTube just for people to watch after the buzz has kind of gone away. But we may or may not play around with that. It really depends, because if we pick up and people want to watch our old films, obviously we want to monetize it.
We want our library of work to be helping us move the company forward by making us money. On the other hand, we want people paying attention too. So
Yeah.
it's a fine line balance to walk.
Brianna asked how much were we able to get in donations. I would say, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, and sorry, I saw something else, that's why I had this weird pause moment. We made, I'd say, like close to $150 in donations, just from having a little bucket at our premieres. So that's really cool. I guess, did you?
Well, I have a question for you. What other, if any, professional recognition are we getting in terms of like actually being listed on other websites? You've had a chance to do crosswork with other studios and directors in the industry. What type of feedback within the industry you're getting? We know what type of local attention we're drawing. Is Spider King Studios getting the word out in any other form within the industry?
Yeah. I always plug our stuff when I'm working on another film or working with other directors and producers and things like that. Something that I have noticed though, especially with kind of bigger productions that have higher budgets and are more professional than we are.
Those are your horse stories to tell. I'm just going to laugh knowing some of them behind the scenes.
Yeah. I have noticed that there's this weird competition vibe out there within the film industry, especially here in Oregon. And so you talk about your film in front of other filmmakers and they'll be like, that's cool. But it's always like them worrying about themselves and their films, and it really is pulling teeth to get them to actually not only watch your stuff, but also promote it in their own way, because I've noticed that some people are like, well, then that takes away from my own films, and I don't know, it's just interesting.
Which I think is ridiculous, because as anybody looking at stuff that actually makes it theaters can tell you, there is in near infinite capacity for people to be putting out these stories. It's not everyone is a $1 billion blockbuster, but people are seeing these regardless. So especially at the level we're working at, thinking that, the people who have seen our film are not available to watch another director's film next week. It's like, no, hopefully we're promoting the whole Oregon film industry and that we're actually drawing positive for that. But some people don't get that. Do we have any other professional recognition? Are we getting like reviews on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or anything else where we're hitting a larger stage as such?
As far as that sort of stuff goes, not really. We're getting articles written. I even read an article from the UK about us just the other day. Like it's really interesting. Like I sometimes search Spider King Studios, and I just see this whole like we're on the front, like it used to show all these other like weird companies that had a similar name, but we're in the top now. I guess just because
on the search results.
Yeah,
Yes.
And with our new website, we have actual connected. We're connected to Google now and everything like that, and the news review has helped a lot as far as getting articles out. Pretty much all these little other articles that I've seen have been almost for word copy pasted from news review, but I have come across
Support your local newspaper. They can make or break you apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this article from like Wales, it was like Spider King Studios just debuted Death with Dignity, and nobody reached out to me and asked me about it. No, I'm like, I'll be down for an interview with somebody in the UK.
As long as they're paying long distance charges. Yeah.
But no, I mean it's just really cool. I'm like, what? We have an article from England? That's weird. Yeah.
So, to any viewers in the UK, if you want to reach out to us, Jake is waiting on your call.
Please. As we sort of come to a close, was there any more questions you had for me? I always like to ask the guest if they have any questions of their own.
Well, you've asked me what future I see with Studio. Where do you see my future with Studio? What would you like to see me do or grow into?
I definitely, I mean, you're one of the top people right now, you're close to home, you're super passionate about Spider King Studios, and as I've said before, that goes a long way with me. I take somebody who's super passionate over somebody who's trying to throw money at me any day, and so
Don't take that long. Please throw money at
please
us.
throw money at me. But yeah, no, I definitely, and that's why I asked my question earlier, where do you see yourself? Because whatever you're doing for us in the future, I see you there. And it really comes down to where you want to be. If your passion is directing, I want to make sure that you're fulfilling your passion within the studio. My passion is just watching us grow. Of course, directing is my ultimate passion, but I'd like to one day drive from one set to another and be like, how's it going over here now? Like, it would be really cool to have multiple projects going on, have you directing one, have someone else directing another, and I think it'll become a reality. And I think with people like you on the team, it will become a reality.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Any more?
Reach out to us. We're taking your calls as such. And
I will go on YouTube. See if there's anything left on YouTube. Nope. Really only one viewer. And I think that was me.
And we've got a lot of positive statements. Thank you all for your comments tonight, but I think we've covered all the questions, so.
Yeah. I think this would probably be a good time to come to a close. We've reached 7 o'clock pretty much. Thank you all very much for tuning in to Tune In Tuesdays. And as always, next week we'll be doing the same thing. So come in and tune in. We may be changing it up in the future and actually filming it on the side while we're live streaming, so that we can put together a more presentable production as far as the podcast goes.
And if you have questions you want answered, but you can't be here during the live, please, there is a contact us link on our webpage. We have Facebook, Instagram, all the usual social media. So reach out to us with your questions ahead of time. We will be glad to answer them live once we get them. Just that way you don't have to wait for us to be able to talk to you.
Yeah, and an idea I actually even had was setting up a Q&A bar on our website specifically for Tune In Tuesdays. If you don't want to reach out specifically to the company to get a response right away just from me, you could reach out, type in your question for the next episode, and whether you want to be mentioned or not for having asked the question, and we can answer it right on the show whether it's at the end or during. So yeah, that'd be cool. Once again, thank you very much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with y'all.
And again, thank you all for tuning in. So we're going to cut out right here. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Spider King Studios. We're watching. We want you watching us.
Buy our merch. SpiderKingStudios.com/shop.